What if you could get all the money back for every single purchase that you ever made, and you could create wealth through your debts and expenses that you already have? If you're like most Americans, you've probably spent your entire adult life paying the banks, your creditors, and your expenses. At the same time, you've probably watched your retirement funds and your legacy drastically fluctuate or even evaporate in the markets. I mean, we've been taught to give up control of our finances, and we've been taught to assume all the risk, and it's costing us our financial freedom. The wealthiest people know differently. So what I want to expand on is a 200-year-old strategy that has been used by the wealthiest families to eliminate their debt, grow their wealth, minimize their taxation, and leave a legacy. And this strategy is so simple that everyone, you included, can apply it in your life. Debts. Yeah, most people in this country have a lot of debts. But what I want to show you is how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses. If you're like most people, you have expenses, you have debt payments, and you have savings, but your income comes in and the first thing you do is you pay your expenses, you pay your debt payments, and then whatever's left over, you save. But where does your savings go? Well, does it go to a bank account? How about a 401k? Maybe it's going to a CD, a high yield savings, a money market, Bitcoin, maybe your financial advisor. But what if all we had to do was just turn your debts into your savings and then change one thing and add one step, and that is where your savings goes first. We're going to put your savings into your own private bank. You like the sound of that? BYOB, be your own bank. But why would we do this? Well, let's start with guaranteed interest for the rest of your life. How about dividends? Tax-free growth if it's done properly, protection of your assets, building a legacy. How about earning uninterrupted compounding interest? And most importantly, you control your money. Well, to do that, all we need to do is build wealth through your own debts. Let me show you how this is done. Let's take an example. Someone that has some debts that turn those debts into assets. So here's an example. Somebody's got a Discover card. They owe $2,348. They're paying $161 a month, and they're paying 21% interest on that card. But they also have a Lowe's card with $9,574. That payment is $287 a month at 11% interest. How about a clothing store card like some people have? Yeah, that one's $9,781, $276 a month, and that one is only 3% interest. A lot of people wouldn't pay that one. But then maybe you got a private loan that you took out for $15,355 that you're paying $922 a month and 10%. And a car loan, yep, you gotta have that car loan. That's about $22,115. You're paying almost $500 a month on that at 7.5% interest. And then maybe you got a boat loan. Hey, maybe if you like the water, you buy yourself a boat. $67,000 a month, that's $1,261 a month at 9% interest. And then you got yourself an Airbnb, and that came with a mortgage of $135,988. That's gonna run about $879 a month at 6.2% interest. And then last but not least, your primary home. That's $205,362, running about $1,221 a month, and you got that at a 4.9% interest rate. Not too bad at all. But let's put these in order from the lowest balance to the highest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 total debts. And if we add them up, that's $478,774, which is going to run you about $5,777 a month. Folks, that's $69,324 a year gone to debt payments. If I'm going to show you how to create wealth and take back control of your finances, well, why don't you hook me up and click that subscribe button? There's a little bell. That bell, just smash it so you're notified every time I put out new content. Now, the goal for many of you is to be debt-free. So what are your options? Well, you can pay down the debt the way you've been doing it, the normal monthly payments. Or you could do number 2, you could pay down extra principal payments using your savings to pay down those balances. Now, they must be consistent and persistent in these payments. The third way you could do it is you could just rearrange your debts from the lowest balance to the highest. They call that snowball. We'll go over that in the example. The fourth way you could do it is you could not only rearrange the debts, but you could then apply that savings to pay down the principal. This will cut your debt payoff time down tremendously. The fifth way, well, it's the same as number 4. We're going to rearrange those debts, but then we're going to change where your savings goes first. And then you're going to become your own bank. And by doing that, we're going to build wealth through your debts and expenses. Now let's remember the reasons why we would do that. Why would we change where your money goes first? You remember those? Guaranteed interest, dividends, tax-free growth, protection, legacy, and uninterrupted compounding interest? What is your private bank? Well, it's not a bank at all. It's actually utilizing insurance companies, specifically mutually owned and dividend-paying life insurance companies. Folks, we're going to change where your savings goes first, and we're going to put it into a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy from a mutually owned company. Say what? Yeah, that's what most people do. Yeah, I said that correct. So let me show you how this works. Well, you remember, first thing we're going to do is we're going to change one thing and add one step. We're going to create our own private banking system. And that is, we're going to change where your savings goes first. We want to tap into all those whys: guaranteed interest, dividends, tax-free growth, protection, legacy, and uninterrupted compounding interest. But what we got to first do is we got to go to our bank and we got to create a new bank account, a segregated bank account. And I'll explain that in a second. And then once we change where the money goes and we put it into that specially designed whole life, we are immediately in the first 30 days going to take loans from our bank, which is that specially designed whole life. The insurance company is going to charge us simple interest on that. We're going to run it through that newly created segregated account. Now, the reason we're going to do that is for books and records. And then what we're going to do once it goes into that bank account, that traditional bank account, we're going to take that money and we're going to start paying down these debts from lowest to highest, just like I said. Now, when we do that, pay very close attention here. When we pay them down from lowest balance to highest, less money goes further. And what we start doing is tapping into the velocity of your money. Or in other words, we recycle and recapture your debt payments. That's right, you're still going to make those debt payments even though we paid off Discover. We're going to pay that $161 a month that you used to give away to Discover, and we're going to pay that back to your bank. We're going to repay the loan to that specially designed whole life at the same velocity of $161. And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this until all debts are paid off. We're going to take your savings and we're going to save that in that specially designed whole life. We're going to immediately take loans in the first 30 days each time, and we're going to pay down next debt. Lowe's is gone, and clothing store credit card's gone, the private loan's gone, the car loan's gone. Then, yes, that's right, the boat loan, the Airbnb, and finally your primary house. If you really watched how that worked, all we did is we literally took back the payments you were making to someone else's bank, that 161, 287, 276, 922, and so on, and we're just going to pay them to your bank. Now, there's a huge difference here. Prior, when you were making payments on all those debts, that money was leaving your family forever. Now, every one of those payments, the exact same payment you were giving away at the exact same interest rate, all of those payments are being made to your bank to repay the loan to your bank. But because of that, you are in control of all of your money. You never lose any control. No money is flowing out of your family banking system. And if we were to average all of the percentages and interest that you were paying to those debts, well, let's see. 21%, 11%, 3%, 21%, 10%, 7.5%, 9%, 6.2%, and 4.9%. Add them all up, that's 8 debts, 72.6%. And if we divide 8 into that, that means your average interest rate you were paying on all those debts is 9.075%. We have just recaptured all of that interest you are giving away to create your wealth, not their wealth. That is how you become your own bank. That is how you keep your money in your control. And it just keeps going around and around and around, but you never lost control. Folks, once all the debt's gone, now you have the ability to start investing, start increasing your savings. But what we did here, folks, is we turned your debts into assets. Your payments now become your savings. You have effectively turned liabilities into assets, and you did that by changing one thing and adding one step, and that is where your savings goes first. And then you followed a very simple process, a process that the late R. Nelson Nash called the infinite banking concepts. And all the infinite banking concept is you taking back the banking functions in your life. So now you can build your wealth, keep your money in your family, pay off your debts and expenses, which I know is important, and recycle and recapture money just like the conventional banks do, all without taking on any risk, working any harder, or changing your cash flow, or even losing control of your finances. Today, everything for you changes, because today, you become the bank. We'll see you on the next video. And folks, if you liked this video, you're gonna love this one right here, where we walk you through the entire infinite banking concept. We'll see you on the next one.